As World War II loomed, fears of a Japanese attack on North America's west coast pushed Canada to strengthen its coastal defenses. Strategic points like Vancouver Island became key sites for new fortifications. In response, located on the peak of Mary Hill, Vancouver Island, the aptly named Mary Hill Battery was constructed in 1939. It was built to replace 3 obsolete 6-inch disappearing guns installed at the Fort Rod Hill batteries in 1895. The main purpose of the strategically placed battery was to protect the vital naval routes and ports of the surrounding area. With 2 concrete reinforced embankments armed with powerful 6-inch Mark 7 breech-loading guns, Mary Hill stood ready at an elevation of 120 meters to defend the coast against any potential naval threat. About 8 months ago, I actually went to explore this place myself. It was a last-minute decision, so we ended up going at night, hiking over a kilometer of hills in rain, my flashlight being the only thing illuminating the path.
I know this walk is pretty long though. We got a 20-minute walk.
As we made it to the halfway point, you could see the ocean and the entire port below, but it was too dark for the camera to pick up. To help visualize the view of the harbors it overlooked, here's some older footage from when I first scouted out the spot a few months back. Due to its strategic placement above the harbors, Mary Hill was also used as an examination battery, which was part of the coastal defense system responsible for identifying and controlling incoming ships. Working closely with naval patrol vessels, the battery could even be ordered to fire warning shots if ships failed to comply. We continued up the final stretch of the hill, making our way to the first and second gun embankments.
But look at that. Cartridges. What does that say? Shells? Okay, so this is where the gun was, artillery. And if you guys need a hint for what the space was built to fight against, there you go. Okay, you can really see the prison from up here. So yeah, this is basically the exact same thing as the last one.
Beyond Mary Hill serving as a ship lookout in its role as an examination battery, the site would sit quiet in the following years, seeing little to no use at all. But as World War II raged on, an additional Mark 7 gun embankment was added, bringing the total to 3 high-powered guns, each with a maximum range of 14,500 yards. With the first 2 embankments explored, we made our way to the third, the last one added during the height of the war.
Yeah, this is the one that has all the graffiti.
1942, a year after the third embankment was added, the guns were upgraded from 15-degree mounts to new 45-degree mounts, extending their range to around 19,300 yards compared to the previous 14,500. As 1943 rolled around, the battery would receive yet another upgrade. Three 6-inch Mark 24 long-range counter-bombardment guns delivered from Britain were mounted on Mark 6 carriages, replacing the old Mark 7s. This brought the total range of these weapons to 24,500 yards. In addition to these upgrades, 17 60-inch electric searchlights were installed along the coast to illuminate the two harbors the battery overlooked at night, one of which was positioned directly across from the road leading up to Mary Hill, which I explored on my first visit to the site. The addition of these searchlights concludes all changes and upgrades the space will receive, leaving us with the 3 gun embankments and the main operations building, which is our next stop. This structure was used for observation, examination, control, command, planning, and plotting.
The sign is so big. For comparison.
Exploring this site, you'll notice a common theme. Most rooms are sealed off, their thick steel doors welded shut. While what was open to us was still amazing to explore, it left us wondering what lies beyond those closed doors, deep underground. After the end of World War II, in 1945, the base stayed active, but as a reserve training site for the 102nd Coast Regiment, with personnel from the regiment conducting exercises at Mary Hill in 1952, including raising the range flag and holding a Sunday service led by the commanding officer. But on December 31st, 1954, the regiment was amalgamated into the 43rd Heavy Anti-Aircraft Regiment as part of the post-war reconstruction of Canada's coastal and anti-aircraft artillery units, moving away from fixed coastal guns towards anti-aircraft roles, eventually phasing out the entire coastal artillery system, leaving sites like Mary Hill obsolete after a decade of service as a training ground, with the guns being dismantled and the place scrapped of its arms shortly after in 1956, leaving the site abandoned ever since. Because this site operated as a classified military base, much of it remains undocumented, aside from the 3 main embankments and the central command bunker. In fact, there are a few more locations absent from any official records that we've yet to explore in this video. Starting with this strange, isolated room located off to the side of the base. It was only accessible by squeezing through this narrow concrete passage.
Yep.
I think this room may have been used as barracks, and I think this because I found an old training video of the base from around 1954. In it, a soldier gets out of bed in a room with walls that look quite similar to what we're seeing here. Then again, the odd location of this bunker makes me second guess that.
Is that a ladder? Probably.
Here are some clear pictures of this area that I took to give you a better idea of what this room looked like. Moving on to the final accessible section of the battery, an underground artillery storage room. The only way in is through a surface opening, down a vertical ladder, and then a 13-foot horizontal crawl to reach the room. The tight space combined with the tunnel's flooded floor made for an extremely uncomfortable and claustrophobic journey, one that was hard to capture on camera.
That's where we just crawled through.
As we finally made our way into the main underground area, we found a shaft leading upward to one of the previously explored batteries, alongside a wide space likely meant for accessing and moving supplies in and out. Entering the adjacent room, we came across rows of ammunition racks, clearly designed for storing artillery shells intended for use during the war.
Oh my god, don't tell me. Flashlight is dead. Yeah. Jump scare?
there's actually one final area to explore. I believe we're the first to step foot inside since its abandonment, and given how popular this location has become, it's extremely rare to find something untouched like this.
What's a flare?
Exploring this untouched room, we recovered several relics, a flare, an old furnace, and most notably, a World War II smoke grenade, completely rusted through. After sitting abandoned for nearly 50 years, the base saw one final official use in July 2005, when Royal Canadian Navy volunteers from Station VE7 RCN set up antennas in Mary Hill's World War II bunkers for ARRL Field Day, contacting stations across North America. With a place like this sitting abandoned, it's inevitable for explorers to trespass onto the property and explore the site, with the earliest documented visit I could find online dating back to 2006. When the property was still largely unknown, lacking any signs of graffiti or vandalism. But locals have been exploring this place long before that, with dates from the 1990s carved into the rusted steel doors. Starting in 2017, a cleanup effort targeting unexploded ordnance across the nearly 200-hectare property that encompasses Mary Hill began, with crews mapping out and clearing over 1,700 of 3,250 grid squares, uncovering spent castings, scrap metal, and even a rocket embedded in a tree. Extending into 2022, the effort cost over $7.5 million and removed more than 20 tons of debris. As the abandoned battery grew in popularity among urban explorers, with mass graffiti appearing as early as 2018, the site became increasingly traveled and tagged. In response, the Department of National Defense began installing additional no trespassing signs, a process that has continued through to 2025 in an effort to further deter exploration. And that concludes the nearly 115-year history of Mary Hill, from its origins as a coastal defense battery in the Second World War to decades of abandonment and neglect, slowly becoming a popular site to explore, forcing the government into a cleanup that still continues today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a different style from my usual content, and it took weeks to make, so I'm probably never ever gonna do this again, so